Hi, Tanya Curry, sister to sister. We are here today doing Discover Your Purpose Plan, which is a 3-day plan, devotional. And it reads before we get started, the publisher's notes I like to read. It's God created you exactly the way He wanted and for a critically important purpose. You have been given unique abilities to serve Him and make an impact on the world. But the world has tricked us into playing a comparison game, and in so doing, it's easy to miss the specific purpose and calling that God has for you. And that's why I always suggest that we meditate, prayer, fasting, written our body of the natural food and giving the spiritual food and having meditation, me time, um, that we may hear from God, our Creator, and what He wants us to do, opposed to what the world wants us to do. So I like to share this devotional with you. Usually I try to read it. I didn't read this. I just saw this and I wanted to share this with you today. So it says, let this sink in. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are God's masterpiece. You aren't a second rate creation compared to your brother, mom, Instagram friend, Elon Musk, or anyone else who seems to have it all together. You're not. Not second to any. God created you exactly the way He wanted and for a critically important purpose. We have each been given unique abilities to serve Him and to make an impact on the world. God doesn't make mistakes. Let me say that again. God doesn't make mistakes. But the world has tricked us into playing a comparison game. Inside the game are hierarchies and ways of quantify our self worth and value in society. We assign positions in this system based on SAT scores, grades, job titles, net worth, dozens of other man-made metrics. Man-made metrics. Sadly, many of us draw conclusions about our own worth and the worth of others from these lies, and that's what they are, lies. Say we always worried about offending other people, but when we worry about offending God, that's when we make a change. That's when we're on the right track. With all the amazing complexities of human being created in the image of God, why would we ever base our worth or someone else's worth on a man-made metrics? There's a quote that's commonly attributed to Albert Einstein that always come to mind when I consider the breadth of our individual gifts. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. As someone who has many times felt like a fish trying to climb a tree, that quote is particularly meaningful to me. I have spent a lot of time working at jobs I wasn't gifted for, jobs where I could work as hard as I wanted, but it didn't really matter because someone else better suited thrived while I struggled. It felt like running into a strong headwind. I was working my tail off and had few results to show. For many years, I was trapped in the lie that God hadn't created me with the same intentionality as others. I'll never forget how liberating it felt when I found my calling. The fish quit trying to climb a tree, discovered a pond, and began to swim. Steve Jobs looking back on how he got fired from Apple, the company he had created years prior, this this. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going well was that I love what I did. You've got to find what you love. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. If you're a fish, I hope you have found your pond. If you're a tiger, I hope you have found your jungle. If you are a bird, I hope you have found the air. But if you haven't found your place, don't stop seeking. When you find it, your life will never be the same. And the world needs you to be doing what you are created to do. There's a famous scene in Chariots of Fire where Eric Liddell, a runner who plans to be a missionary, decides to put the mission field on hold while he trains for the Olympics. As Liddell defends his choice, he says, "When I run, I feel his pleasure. To give it up would be to hold him in contempt." It's not just fun to win, it is to honor him. No matter what, whether others understand or agree, operating in the giftings God placed in us brings him pleasure. It benefits us, honors him, and positions us to make the greatest impact on the rest of the world. Okay, forgive me for that. Okay, let's see, day devotional, Psalm 139:14. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made, marvelous in your works. At that, my soul knows very well. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, says the Lord. Thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. Ephesians 4:16. From whom the whole body joined and knit together by what every joint supplies, according to the effective working by which every part does its share, causes growth of the body for the edifying of itself in love. And that is day one of Discover Your Purpose. So let me know what you feel and what you think about this devotion. I'm a little distracted. Forgive me. I have to switch again. I just did another video on another on another electronic. Thank God for the backup electronic. Because if it ain't one thing, is another thing is going on. But guess who's going to keep going for me? When these things happen, don't let it stop you. That's all I can say. Just be persistent, be consistent, and just push through it and make whatever you have work. And that's what I think a lot of time God likes to deal with me about, because I'm a person that I like to have things set in order. I won't start something until I do it. But when you walk in by faith and when you're being obedient to what God has you to do, he does things differently. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to us, but if we just follow him, we'll see the end results and realize that it was intentional. So I want to leave you with that note. Let me know how you guys doing in the comment, and just whatever you comment you want to share. I'm changing the channels, or fix not changing them. I'm just adding more stuff, depths to the channels, and seeing how things are set up. And eventually, I'll be in a more professional mode. So I'm just learning as I'm going. So as we on our purpose, that's what we're going to find ourselves doing. Feeling like we don't belong sometimes, feeling like we're out of place. But the mission goes on and the training goes on, because that's what it is. When you walk in by faith, we have the ultimate trainer, and that's God. And if we stay connected with him, we'll see how he moves and how he works, opposed to the ways we were taught how he would move and how he works. And he wants us to depend on him, and that's his main thing. So let's just do what we can do when we can do it, how we can do it. Just do it. Love y'all. Talk to y'all soon.